Yes, I hope it works now. I think my connection is back. Um, Thank you very much, Brickstar. Thank you very much, English, Comexit, Ngwe Felix, Paul, and the rest. Thank you very much for being with me and for coming back online strong. I hope my connection is good now. If my connection is lagging, please let me know. All right, thank you very much. It's good. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm sure Russia hacked my phone. Russia always hacks this, you know. Russia hacks that. All right, good. Back to business. Thank you very much, everybody who participated or who contributed somehow to make this the Anglophone problem much more renowned, much more prominent, because over the past weeks, we've been seeing international media drumming up our support and reporting about us. For the very first time in Cameroon's history, Al Jazeera is talking about the Cameroon problem or the Anglophone problem. For the very first time in Cameroon's history, we are getting news reports from VOA, it is the Voice of America, and IBT Times and BBC. And right now, as I'm talking, in the next few hours or so, BBC would be reporting live, interviewing Wilfred Tassang live on BBC Africa service. So if you're in Cameroon, you can listen to Wilfred Tassang and some other Cameroonians talking about the problem. So which makes us very, very renowned, and it brings us closer to victory. I mean, we are an inch away from victory. So thank you very much as well to Buea, most especially because for the very first time, Southwest turned out en masse. People came from all over, that is from Manthe, from Kumba. It was huge. I mean, and interestingly, nobody put on a party uniform. Nobody identified himself as a politician. Even John Fru Ndi and his SDF entourage never wore a political shirt or whatever. So which makes it huge. I mean, it sends a disturbing signal to the regime in power and making them to wonder if really this is a political thing, which is not, or if the people's rising, you know, the people's uprising, you may want to call it, or come exit or something or whatever. So at the end of the day, we are making this a people's concern. It is the people who are talking. It is not a party who is talking. It is not a group who is talking. It is the people, because the people share one common problem. If I can, Fortune Paul, Brendan, Tombin, Sunjo, or whoever, Tapang Ivo inclusive, we have all suffered marginalization. Whether you are from CPDM or SDF or whatever, you've all suffered some form of marginalization. And that is what brings all of us together. So the problem is very glaring, very, very glaring. And nobody can deny it. Nobody can deny that there is an Anglophone problem. Even Mr. Bia himself and Philemon Yang himself and Atanganji themselves, if you x-ray the heart, they will tell you there is an Anglophone problem. Just like Sonny Bayan said on CRTV Press Hour on Sunday, skeptics have become believers. He was referring to Ngole Ngole the sycophants. So at the end of the day, we are winning bigly. And I'll be taking questions. Yes, Gil Ekane says, sources say PM dismisses calls for a federal state. I'm addressing that. I saw that breaking news, but I'll be addressing that in a very short while. So who is PM Young in the first place? PM is a ceremonial president. You know, meaning of a ceremonial is a cosmetic president. You can wipe him off with a tissue, you know. So he is insignificant in the struggle. He's just a citizen. He's very insignificant, and he's speaking as a PM. It's a very ceremonial, I mean, it's a ceremonial position. There is nothing interesting. The way Bia has structured the regime, Motaze himself has powers more than PM Yang. So that is a fact. I mean, PM's assistants have more powers than PM. So it's a ceremonial, it's an errand boy, King David says. He's an errand boy figurehead. So it makes no sense. Even Bia himself has not spoken. So who is PM Young to talk? This is a fact. We are holding our leaders to account. This is what democracy is all about. So I want to thank everybody who has participated somehow, strongly or hugely, the lawyers and the teachers most especially. I want to especially thank the lawyers and the teachers because look, the teachers, as we always say in Cameroon, the teachers round. The teachers are the poorest, I mean among the poorest set of people in Cameroon. Marginalized set of people, or the sector in Cameroon is marginalized. These are people who sacrificed all throughout this period, to sacrifice even their salaries, to sacrifice anything they have just to stand with us because there is a better tomorrow. There is no better today. There was no better yesterday. There is a better tomorrow. So we should stand with the teachers. Because if you know exactly reports I have heard and evidence I've had about bribery taking place, the attempted bribery to bribe teachers, to bribe Wilfred Tassang, to bribe teachers. It is huge. And they deny this bribe. So we should thank the teachers. We should go down on our knees and pray and thank them for denying bribes. It is huge. I'm serious. They came with bundles of money in Ayaba Hotel to bribe teachers to stop the strike action. But the teachers stood on their grounds and said, no, we want to fight for the children, for our children's tomorrow. We want to fight for a better tomorrow. We've been suffering as of yesterday and as of today, and we've said no, no, and no. Hours later, what happened? The teachers have grouped themselves into a consortium, and they have signed an even more aching communique. And the communique is very simple. They are saying that we want two-state federation. That's a fact. They want two-state federation. So I'll be taking the questions in a moment. I have so much to talk. Thank you very much. DB Cole says that is true. They did a marvelous job. Even the lawyers, at some point, we should do a GoFundMe campaign to even sustain those teachers. We in the diaspora, we in Cameroon, we have the money to keep this struggle. It is our problem. The Francophones will not feel so much for us than the way we feel it, because they are occupying themselves in all those schools. They are having the lion's share. I hope my video is not lagging. I can see my video lagging. Please let me take some questions. Let me take some questions. I'll be continuing shortly. Let me take some questions. They wanted Fulbright to separate. Thanks to all teachers. Yeah. I'm waiting for some questions, please. All right. Meanwhile, waiting for some questions, I'll go straight away to the points I had already on my computer. I'll open the points and I'll address the points straight up. So the points for this video. So the first one, just a second, while waiting for some questions. I don't want to miss any question today because I've always been accused of not answering questions. So let me see some of the points. I'm trying to scroll down. All right, good. So some of the key questions I had. Let me see. All right. Some of the key questions I had. The first question, we've had so much victories that we've denied to even win again. In fact, basically, my video keeps tired. I don't know. The first victory that we've had so far has been the calm down. In fact, for the first time in Cameroon's history, in contemporary history, we've had so many ministers displacing themselves from Yaoundé and coming down to the southwest region and northwest regions. In fact, basically to convince the minds of to convince the peoples. The peoples, I use the word S because we're a group of people who can form a nation. To convince the people to abandon their thoughts on Anglophone marginalization. For the first time, we've had dozens of ministers led by the PM himself, Yang Philemon, to southwest and northwest regions. And I hear Mr. Philemon Yang is now heading to Manthe, which will be another blunder for him after the blunder yesterday. So they are leaving en masse to the northwest region on a weekday. Today is a Wednesday. Yesterday was a Tuesday. The other day before yesterday was a Monday. So this is a weekday, a working day in Cameroon. Cameroon, a very fragile country with an economic growth rate, annual GDP growth rate of less than 5%. You have ministers, more than 17 ministers, top officials, governors or whatever, displacing themselves, abandoning their jobs, leaving to come to the northwest and southwest regions and clad in the CPDM traditional regalia just to sing praises to their king. It is abominable. It is abominable. We are not even close. We are not even close to any election in Cameroon. Elections are in 2018. Then campaigns, I will call them campaigns, are already running up. When Fru Ndi went to Bamenda to Buea on Monday, he did not clad in any traditional. He was just a Fru Ndi as the civilian. He was Fru Ndi as the civilian. The people who were flanking Fru Ndi were the citizens as civilians. Then you have dubious CPDM, crooked CPDM, and ruining CPDM moving to Buea to do some kind of political posturing. It is wrong. It is really wrong. I don't know if we can hold this, our leaders, to account. It gives us more reasons, and it backs up our problem, the Anglophone problem. Because we, in the federal state or in an independent state, we will not have these kinds of issues. Because Anglophones, we have the best. I mean, the British system has the best form of government. The best. The French system is a mess. So at the end of the day, if we have a federal state, we will know how to hold our governments to account. A federal state basically has more democratic values because the citizens, they are the people talking. There is some kind of devolution of power, especially with dual federalism. Because we are talking here about state government and the national government. The state government basically controls everything apart from the military in most cases. But the national government would control mostly the military and international affairs, while devolving powers and while recognizing the independence or the powers or the ability of states, local governments to control and manage their own affairs. And that brews a lot of competition. It makes the economy very efficient. So at the end of the day, I'll be taking some questions. All right, let me get this one from Moria Free. She says, what do Anglophones in the military have to say about Anglophone students and lawyers being maltreated and beaten? Look, Moria Free, if you've noticed this, since this strike started, whenever there is a protest, which of course is a peaceful protest, the military is sent from Yaoundé. The military is sent from Yaoundé. That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. Because if the military is sent from Yaoundé, it means these guys know that our military, our boys who are Anglophone, would obviously pardon us. They would obviously pardon us. So the guys from Yaoundé, those crooks from Yaoundé, are the ones who are heartless. So when they come, they know they have no relations in the French, on the Anglophone-speaking regions, and they can brutalize us, they can rape our girls, they can invade hostels with their penises, and all of those kinds of atrocities which we are documenting right now and building up a huge human rights report to file to the UN. In fact, the report I'm doing right now, it's 21 pages and it's already being polished. So at the end of the day, we are winning this fight hugely. From the very first day, I said, please stay at home. We have been drumming this support. You and I have been speaking. It is we. It is not me. It is you, your own individual effort. Stay at home. Pull back from the streets. And this was a huge strategy. If we went violent, we couldn't have been talking about any streak or any shred of success today. We went peaceful and we went low. Because we have strategies. We are very brilliant. We have the intelligence to pull our strategies. I mean, strategies that hurt. Without any killings. I mean, how many killings? Basically, just 3 or so or whatever, which is of course huge. I mean, without any destruction of state property, we're having ministers flanking and fleeing into northwest Cameroon and southwest Cameroon to convince minds. I mean, old people who are above the age of 50 to convince minds to stop the Anglophone problem. Really? We have the Anglophone problem. It is our problem. And we must fight for our future now. So let me take some questions. I have a whole lot of issues to discuss about leadership, what concerns about leadership. So I just want to be taking questions I'm discussing. My connection is not really good. Please pardon me for today. What do you say about the strategies being put forth by Ebenezer Akwanga? I have not read the strategy, so I cannot comment about that. So sorry. That question comes from Fonto Bless. It says, what do you make about the strategies put forth by Ebenezer Akwanga? All right. Mickey says we should not carry this problem into La République Douala. Okay. I raised this concern today on Facebook based on a poll which I conducted, I think it was 2 weeks ago or so, simulating. The meaning of simulate means that people kind of misunderstood this, which I want to clarify now. The meaning of simulating, if you're simulating something, it means that assuming that you were in 1961, when the plebiscite or the referendum, you may want to call it that way, led by the UN was being run, assuming that we were in 1961, what will people vote for? My video is lagging. What will people vote for? Assuming that we were in 1961, what will people vote for? That was exactly the poll I conducted to simulate exactly how the action could have been. Many people, nearly 80%, voted for independence, which was huge. So at the end of the day, I did a geopoll. In that poll, I did a geopoll, and I mean, I think it was 28,000 people, respondents. In 28,000 respondents, 14,000 came from Cameroon. And in 14,000, 10,000 came from Douala. So at the end of the day, I could track exactly where the voters were. So if you can know exactly where the voters were, it's good strategy, it's good for policy making, because you know exactly how to target them. So I was thinking that, okay, good. Now that we have the results and what are the policy implications, first, maybe we could take the protest to Douala and make it very peaceful. If people can simply just walk on the streets without, if they know they're going to behave themselves, they can walk on the streets without destroying properties, and it's going to make something huge. So if, of course, I go with people. If the people say, oh, no, it was going to be violent, all right, good, hands off. We have other strategies. The next strategy we'll be implementing will be a food ban. A food ban for 2 months to Yaoundé, because we supply food. Right now, the Anglophones, I mean, Northwest and Southwest regions are speaking as one. Northwest and Southwest regions, we are all speaking as one. So the Anglophones can effectively put a food ban on Yaoundé for 2 months, and it will fracture. It will push the regime to the dialogue table. Number two, federalism is a win-win. It's a chop. There is nothing bad about federalism. Nothing. The first person to even institute federalism, who pushed forth federalism, was Aidjo, a French-speaking citizen. So right now, Anglophones are pushing for federalism. So what is bad about it? Even though Aidjo did that without any background negotiations and integration of policies from all parties, which was dubious, right now the federalism we are pushing for is very inclusive and binding, because it brings together all stakeholders. So that brings me now to my point 2. The need for leadership. When we talk about stakeholders, it means that you clearly identify the leaders in all of these groups. You clearly identify the leaders within the teachers. You can identify the leaders within the lawyers. You clearly identify a leader within the media or the social media. You clearly identify a leader within all these relevant structures in the society. So once you identify these leaders, you bring them on the dialogue table, and you dialogue the problem on a round table. So at the end of the day, it's a binding solution. So you even clearly identify lecturers or historians, people who are good in negotiations, because we need not only a dual federation or federalism, we need also power alternation. So Anglophones have never had power. We need power alternation. We need power to be alternating from one person to the other, or from French-speaking Cameroon or whatever to English-speaking Cameroon. So at the end of the day, federalism does not come empty. I'm taking the cue, or we should take the cue after the lawyers and the teachers, because it is thanks to them. We must give them the credit. It is thanks to them that we are successful today. It is thanks to them that we had our voices being pushed forth to the dialogue table, or pushed forth to the dialogue table. It is thanks to them that for the first time in Cameroon's history, I could read banners on the streets like "We want independence" when Fru Ndi marched in Buea. I could read banners. I mean, it was huge. This is the first time in Cameroon's history. I mean, closer, they were standing close to the police officers and the brutal Boko gendarmes, and reading their banners clearly. We want independence. Nobody arrested any of them. This is huge. This is a landmark. Historians should write this in history. Previously, if you did that, you'll be arrested and you'll be jailed and you'll be killed, for example. But nobody has been arrested. This is democracy. This is the voice of the people talking. And that is why the voice of the people protected Mancho BBC and his colleague. The voice of the people is stronger than a voice of one person. Let me give you a secret, please. If you look at the statistic, I always deal with statistics. If you look at statistics, only 4% of Cameroonians, only 4% of Cameroonians are above the age of 55. Only 4% of Cameroonians above the age of 55. Meaning that we are here talking talking about more than 96% of the population who are on Facebook. We are here talking about more than 8 million citizens who are Anglophones on Facebook clamoring. This is a huge voice. Don't be afraid of the guns. They can do nothing. The US has already warned. The US Department of State has already warned Cameroon. And that is why the soldiers are helpless. They cannot do anything apart from throwing off tear gas and grenades. They cannot shoot, cannot kill a life. I bet you. I bet you. Mr. Biya is afraid of his few years left in power. He is afraid. And that is why this protest, as I earlier said, it should not be a protest for regime change. It is a protest to push forth either federalism or independence, or you call it secession, as I will call it secession, on the dialogue table. So it is a peaceful protest. It is not out for a yellow revolution. It is not out to topple a regime. It is not out. Biya's regime cannot last for more than 5 years. If God likes him. This is a fact. We are already close to victory. And that is why it's a win-win, because federalism will benefit Francophones as well. Federalism will benefit the Bamileke as well. Federalism will benefit the Northeast as well. Federalism will benefit every region in the country as well. So at the end of the day, let me take a question. Someone is asking about leadership. Let me take a question, please. I may have missed that comment. It's a very brilliant question that came in about leadership. I may have missed it. Sorry about that. Let me say, Mr. Ivo, you are a history teacher over there in the US. You talk a lot of wisdom. I'm not a history teacher, please. It's just that I read widely. I read widely. That's all about me. I read widely. I read every subject, including science, physics, and the rest. And it's maybe by God's grace that if I'm talking wisely, as you say, then that's all right. But my field of study basically is all about strategy. And that's why maybe this strike is working. My field of study is all about security. I do security, international security, which means it's a broader section of political science. My specialty is how to start a war and how to end a war. But I don't like wars. So I use a soft form, what I call soft power, how to pressure regimes to dialogue. So basically my strategy, I specialize in nuclear security. So basically, if I'm talking a lot of wisdom or whatever, I'm just looking at how threats are credible in international politics. How threats are credible. What do you define as a threat? And how can you deter a threat? So basically, that I study. So thanks very much for that question. Someone says, Rene says, I think the beatings have reduced because of the warning from the US ambassador. Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, Rene. I'll be taking a lot of questions this session. I've been always accused of talking and not taking questions, so bear with me. Paul Mondoa says, then why should they lead us? That is the meaning of the retirement age. These men are tired. Of course. You know, they are fading out. Ojong says, why not clamor? Oh, come on. Why not clamor for a referendum? Ojong, thank you very much for that question. You know, I was somehow divided between being happy and sad today when the lawyers and the teachers came up with the consortium and they sent to me because they basically agreed on a two-state federation, which is huge, which is good, and which is also bad. Somehow, I will not say bad, because my initial worry was not to divide the Anglophones along maybe, okay, this person supports federalism, this one should support independence, and people will start hitting their heads. I initially tabled two solutions. From me, on my own part, you may have your own. I'm talking as an individual. I am not leading the strike. I'm just a concerned citizen. I saw it from two main perspectives. If you put the two options to the dialogue table, it includes everybody. Nobody is left out. Nobody is marginalized. Nobody is marginalized. I mean, whether you identify yourself as for secession or independence, or you identify yourself for federalism, nobody is left out. So together we speak collectively and we see our voices heard, and we want to push ourselves to the dialogue table. So initially, that is what I thought. So when the teachers or whatever came up with this communique today, to me, I hailed the communique because for once, the teachers have shrugged off any grievance they had about teaching. The lawyers have shrugged off any grievance they had about whatever, and they buried them under one main factor, which is federalism. Let us push now for federalism. So meaning that if there were any plans for any dialogue or any negotiations in future, I mean by the gangster regime in Bamenda or in Buea or in Manfi, it will not hold because the regime will be dialoguing now on federalism, which has limited or has weakened their power and has closely pushed them to the dialogue table. Why? Because the regime already showed vulnerability by trying to dialogue with the teachers. So right now the strike is even more intense and would also want to push for their dialogue. But pushing for their dialogue on what grounds? Now it is federalism. I don't know if you get the sense. Now it is federalism. So the next dialogues you'll be seeing in Cameroon, Anglophone Cameroon, or maybe Yaoundé, would be on federalism. Because they will not come and call the teachers to dialogue on teachers' problems. It's impossible. So they would want to dialogue now, and they are forced and they are compelled and they are coerced to dialogue on federalism. So it is a huge strike, the teachers and the lawyers and the civil society organizations. And I would also like to include the media into that communique. The media is very instrumental, and the media helps to identify these are the people talking, these are the people's voices. Not CRTV, please. Delete CRTV. It's a crooked CRTV. Delete it. Not CRTV, I mean the people's media, social media. You may want to put it that way. Social media should be included into that communique to show that this is what the people are talking about. Because even the CRTV journalists are all on social media. So at the end of the day, it includes all of us. The social media should be part of that communique of our as a signatory. So basically the next strike we'll be seeing will be dialoguing on federalism. The teachers have done great so far. You see, they have done great so far. And my video lags. And basically, I would like to address one key concern here. The issue of cessation. Cessation, no state, no sovereign state in international politics or international relations would ever dialogue on cessation. None. No state. It has never happened in world history. Maybe Cameroon will be exceptional, but I doubt. I strongly 99.9% doubt. No state would dialogue on independence. None. That means a group of its people breaking up. You would only take that by guns. Are you ready to fight? Are you ready? I'm not ready. Seriously, I'm not ready to spill blood. I am not ready. I was trained in the seminary and I know about peace. I don't kill people. I was not ready for that. So if you're ready, maybe that's your business. But no states, I can bet you, the Francophones are even more calm with us because they see into us with our federalism. But if you start a war on independence, how many Anglophones are there? Just 8 million. In 25 million citizens, which means that in 25 million citizens, the Francophones have a double majority. So do you think Francophones will want a state, even themselves? Do you think they will want to cut off? Do you think they will put up a resistance? And they have the military and they have the might. They have been in power since 1961 and they will put up a huge resistance and you cannot fight them. This is a fact. Let's be practical. Although we want independence, but let us be practical. Let us be rational in the way we think. Hugely, there is no way. But federalism, which is a subset, is a subset. There are all kinds of federalism. Dual federalism, which I'm talking about here, is a subset. It's like independence in another form because there is devolution of powers. In fact, let me basically explain it. Federalism, dual federalism, the only thing that states or regions or provinces would not have is the power of international affairs or to negotiate in international affairs. That will be done at the level of what they call the national government. Because in federalism, you talk about the national government and you talk about the state government. So the national government is the one that devolves power downstairs, gives power, trickles down power, gives the right to states or regions or provinces, as you may want to call them, gives them the right to powers. So they manage every affair. They regulate the taxes. They do everything apart from the military and international affairs. International affairs like diplomacy with other states. So basically that is it. So at the end of the day, I think if you ask my humble opinion, we should negotiate, we should accept warmly federalism. But the federalism that we are talking about should come with I will call it a two-pronged approach. One, those going on the negotiation table should negotiate for power alternation, because Anglophones have never had power. So we should be negotiating for power alternation. We cannot keep burying ourselves for more than half a century of no leadership. We don't have power. We've never tested power. But of course, power is good. We need an Anglophone president too. Rationally thinking, we need an Anglophone president. So power should all